Hey, everyone. Welcome to another glorious, beautiful, amazing episode of Jeff Has Cool Friends. I would say this is sort of like the start of what we'd say season 2 of Jeff Has Cool Friends. We have gone 2 years and we are going again. And so I figured, why not for Jeff Has Cool Friends 2.0? Why don't I bring in literally my oldest friend, the friend that I have had the longest in my life. This man is obviously, I've known him since pretty much he was born. He has lived in my house. He is my adopted brother. He is also working on a ton of incredible projects, especially with what we know as Ultimate Classic Wrestling. Give it up for my brother and my very cool friend, Daniel Archambeault May. Dan, what's up, buddy?
Oh, thank you kindly for that intro. Yeah, as my mom told me, and my biological mom and your mom, 72 hours old, I believe, is the time we met. So
yeah,
it's been a minute.
It's been a couple of years. It's been some would say all of the years. But
yeah, all the ones I'm aware of anyway.
I have a photo of us when you were probably, I would say, just walking. You had just started walking at like the Charlton, Massachusetts Old Home Day parade. And it's just our dads looking like 80s grease balls or whatever, and just us being like little kids in 80s hoodies and stuff.
Yeah, I believe Marlboro had sponsored that picture, actually.
Yeah. Brought to you by a lot of tobacco.
Oh, yeah.
So now, Dan, obviously, you know, you and I have such history. And as I was prepping for this episode, I was like, no inside jokes. Like I was trying so hard because I want to default primarily to just the jokes that we have been saying to each other for, I would say, a better part of 35 years.
Easily.
The first couple, we probably didn't have good jokes.
I mean, we had some good stuff, to be fair. But I mean, you may have some fans that have every episode of In Living Color memorized, so we could
we could do that. We could just they're good as a doctor. We could just do I mean that
you is... like Hammer?
Oh yeah, that was Rick James's Misery, right?
Yes, a classic.
So like,
give you all my whiskey.
So that's the thing. It's so hard to do like an interview podcast when you know most of the things about the person.
Yeah.
But it is important to me that, because I was like, as I was sitting through here, there's a couple things. One is I wanted to do a Jeff Has Cool Friends, like a local edition, like an edition of my friends from back home that I think do really interesting jobs. And you do have several interesting jobs, but also like there is this fear that I have that I'm going to make something that is really fun to record and nearly unlistenable for people that don't know our history, because they'd be like,
yeah, no, I can understand that. I'm like approaching this to like how I talk to my wife, because you know, I'll reference the Bonkers gum commercial from 1987, and she's just like, "What?" I'm like, "Man, Jeff would have gotten that, you know, because
Bonkers.
We wrote 40 minutes of material on it at 8. You know,
a big apple landing on a old lady,
right?
Classic Bonkers commercial.
Or grapes at the girl on a piano is what I remember. But yes.
Yeah, I mean, it was all that. It was all just people being abused by giant fruit, which is that. Now we have been together as sort of an inseparable crew since that time, and we've obviously had a lot of growing experiences. You were my partner in my fire play that I used to engage in.
Oh, yes,
so much
pistilling, I believe, was the
that was in our 20s. We good for us. We boiled bottles of our own piss, to which our smartest friend burned himself on a bottle of scalding hot piss.
Yeah, I don't want to light him up, but yeah, he's got clearances you couldn't imagine, and yeah, he scalded himself with boiling urine at a party. Which is not drunk also.
Yeah. But you know, as kids, I mean, I don't know how many of our action figures were destroyed by fire or torture.
Oh, I wish I had them. I think about that Rick Rude LJN all the time. Like it's like $700, and it's like it's burned it.
Death of Superman action playset.
Oh yeah,
where we just scorched up a Superman and stuff like. But so again, I could do this all the time, and it's very funny. But I actually do want to talk about the thing that you have been working on right now, because it is something that is really impressive. You were telling me about it. You've been telling me about it as the process has been going on for quite some time, but I don't think I really understood the scope of what Ultimate Classic Wrestling is, nor did I understand the market for it. And to which I am now finding out that this is a massive both undertaking, but also massive opportunity for people that are wrestling fans to explore things that are not curated by basically Vince McMahon.
True. Well, now Endeavor Media Group, I believe, but yeah.
Yeah. But so what, because I'm like a little bit out of wrestling. Obviously, you and I have been to wrestling events together as kids. We've gone to, obviously I have a very, very strong of working knowledge up through the Attitude Era, and then I pulled myself away and had to do other things. So now, what is Ultimate Classic Wrestling? Because I did download the channel, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Download it on it is on my Roku. And I flipped through it and saw I saw Marty Jannetty getting a lot of good face time on one of the new uploads, and I was very excited about that because we saw him wrestle in a high school gym.
Yeah, Marty's Marty. I'm not gonna. He's a friend of the network.
Is he?
Yes.
Did he actually commit the murders that he claims to have committed?
I don't know when he's working. He might be kayfabing. I have no idea. That might be how Marty Jannetty markets himself in, the 2020s. I couldn't say for sure.
So you're connected to him now. Like you've interacted.
I could get a phone call out to him. I mean, he doesn't come over for dinner,
But so just Marty Jannetty, like you have access to that.
Yeah, I could get a hold of him.
Wild to me. That's wild to me.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy getting like, especially because Mario Savoldi is in his 80s. I should take a step back. So Mario Savoldi of the world famous Savoldi family, Angelo Savoldi, former NWA junior heavyweight champion.
Okay.
We have what is the second largest library of classic wrestling footage in the world. Of course, second only to WWE. So Angelo was actually pretty brilliant. Sometime in the 50s or 60s, I want to say, he was on the Dumont Network, which was the first wrestling show. He was actually the first wrestler on television, first or second. He was in the first match. So anyway, he had left that territory at some point. And then when he showed up in, I want to say, Oklahoma, he wanted footage of himself to show on TV. And Dumont was basically like, no, we throw that stuff away when we're done. So he was like, never again. So he held on to every bit of tape he ever shot, produced,
so
whatever.
And what year was this?
This was, I have footage back to the 50s with Luthez and, Anthony Naraka and guys like that, Buddy Rogers.
Yeah, I know that name. That name I know.
Yeah.
Buddy Rogers.
Yeah. So we have thousands upon thousands of hours of classic wrestling. And again, stuff both produced by the Savoldi family, and Mario purchased several libraries over the years. So we have a lot of great stuff. And a lot of it just really hasn't been seen since its original airing, And again, God bless Mario. He would take the tape and put it in a storage unit, climate controlled. So I'm seeing stuff that hasn't been seen since,
are they converting it now to like digital, or has that been converted in the past already? Or has this been like a massive undertaking? Because I can't imagine somebody who's working that much. I can't imagine how long.
That's me.
Like what that like what kind, like I guess my head is trying to wrap around like what the did this guy's house look like? Was it in storage?
He usually always had a studio. He kind of retired, I guess you'd say, 2015-ish.
But he's also still alive.
Yeah,
for a wrestler to.
Well, Mario was an in-ring worker.
Oh, that's why.
He was
See,
a
that's
producer.
smart.
Yeah, his brother Joe, or we'll call him Joe for the. I don't want to. Yeah. So Joe was a wrestler, and he's still doing fantastic. But Angelo himself was to be 99, so I'm sure I'll get another at least 10 years out of Mario, which I'm very happy about.
Nice. Okay, because like obviously, like if I'm not like a obviously you're weeded into this a lot more than I am. So like the names like Savoldi or whatever, like they don't necessarily hold that much sway with me. But when you start telling me their pedigrees, pardon the pun, of like what they were up to, that's really impressive. And when you were like, yeah, he's had all of his tapes since like the 50s and 60s and stuff like that. And when you think about like, especially like tapes from the 60s didn't look like VHS.
No, I mean, if this was a video show, I could show you some stuff because all the action happens right here where you're seeing. It's me and my mountain of crap.
So it is you. Like you're
Yeah,
the one
it's
that's
me.
converting all this stuff.
Yeah, and I should say some of it was done before I got here, but the bulk of, I would say at least 50% of what you're seeing on Ultimate Classic Wrestling, well, all of it went through my computer, but about half of it I digitized from archaic tape formats.
Okay, so if I turn on the Roku channel that I have right now, so I've turned on the Roku thing, Ultimate Classic Wrestling. So you're telling me that every video that I watch that's on there was basically put onto that Roku station from your specific house in Charlton, Massachusetts.
That is absolutely correct.
It seems so weird to me. Like I know that we live in a digital age where that's obviously something that
Right.
do, but that also just seems really weird to me. And I don't know.
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
I wonder how I got here at sometimes, but
It's been a hell of a
good
trip.
tip for all your friends out there. If you want to get in a business, offer to work for free. Anyone will always take free work.
Yeah.
So if you can make yourself useful at that point, they will keep you.
And so now is this, it's no longer a free gig, right? You're
no, not at all. Mario is, despite popular legend, Mario is very fair on his payouts.
Oh, okay. Well, is there a popular legend where he might not have been at certain points?
You hear things, but never that he lied. That's the thing with Mario. Mario would have asked you to drive from New Jersey to Maine for $50, which, okay, that's not a great deal. But when you got there, you had $50 in your hand. Is Mario a poor payout guy? You got what you were offered, like.
I mean, I would say that almost all wrestling promoters throughout history have been poor payout guys. So that wouldn't be a surprise to me.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, Mario will tell you outright he was the worst payout guy in the business, but
I mean,
what it is.
There is that. So now
he didn't lie to you. He didn't tell you it was $1,000 and you got there and here's $20 for gas, kid. It's
that doesn't seem smart to do that to wrestlers, if I'm being 100% honest. Like the whole, like I know that there's like a history of like sort of like worker abuse in independent wrestling. And I was like, well, there must have been a lot of guns involved because I can't imagine wanting to, if you like piss off like Tony Atlas, like it seems like that could end in a very negative way for you.
Yeah, I mean, probably back in when the NWA had their stranglehold on things. I mean, if you pulled a gun on Bob Geigel, you're never going to work again, and that's what it was. So there was that to keep people in check. Yeah, but I did have one promoter tell me, and I won't name names. Definitely wasn't anyone affiliated with who I'm working with now, but he did tell me, you don't rip anyone off. You screw them a little for a long time. Was how to do it.
That seems. See, but you
could burn someone once and then what,
That is to me the least surprising thing that you could say in this situation, though, because like, for example, if you were telling me like, oh, a wrestling promoter was like, yeah, you want to juice the con for as long as you can, I'd be like, yeah, these guys are
right.
Like the way I picture wrestling promoters specifically, and this is probably wrong of me to do that, but I get carny energy from them.
It is carny.
Yeah, is it? Okay.
Yeah, that was another interesting thing in Lee learning how to speak Kizarni. Very strange world.
They're I guess carny folk would make sense, I guess. Now
that's where wrestling came from, was the carnival circuit.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it makes sense. It's why they dress like strongmen, like and why superheroes do as well. Well, weirdly enough. Okay, so is this your only job now? Or do you still do, because I know that you were working in like tech repair as well.
Yeah, I still do that. I have another day job. I do about, I don't know, maybe 20 hours a week just to make sure the lights are always on.
And what's that?
It's a job.
Okay. All right. I know you have some people want to talk about them, some people don't.
Like I said, just make sure the bills are paid. Okay, that's another thing. If no one watches my stuff this week, it is what it is.
Okay, but you do have the other jobs to pay them. So like this is, I guess you would say that like, so Ultimate Classic Wrestling is like a secondary income.
Yeah, you could say that.
What you can
it's the majority of my time, I would say, but in terms of percentage
of dollars
in my bank account, yes.
Yeah, I get that a lot too, where it's like, it's like, oh well, I make money doing this, but I don't pay my bills with it.
Right.
That's like stand up for me, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you think about it, every hour of footage you see there on Ultimate Classic Wrestling, So any tape I convert, I got to watch in real time. Well, not watch, or at least it ties up my
Run.
machinery for, an hour. Then I have to encode that into something Adobe can understand, and then edit out commercials and phone numbers, things like that. So every hour is about 3 hours of effort, assuming everything went perfectly, which is a big assumption. So
Do you, what do you do with the commercials?
I usually cut them out.
Do you like have them saved somewhere?
Yeah, usually
That's
they
because
used to.
that's a huge YouTube market, by the way.
Yeah, I got some good ones. I saved the really cool ones. I tend to leave in ones that are wrestling related. I'll block out info, but
Yeah.
like things for like Bill Apter's hotline, or fans will immediately recognize the I want to be a wrestler or instructional VHS. I'll always leave that one in just because it's.
So you are putting in that extra work to sort of curate the whole thing, even so it's better. Okay. All right.
Yeah, no, I mean I'm working with Mario because I was an ICW WCCW fan. That's the reason I reached out to
Okay.
him.
So wait, what's ICW? What are these things? Because like, here's the thing. Talk to me like I don't know what the you're talking about because I don't know what the you're talking about.
All right, fair enough. So ICW International Championship Wrestling, Savoldi version, not to be confused with the Poffo version or the Moscow version.
See, the Poffo, I know that name.
Yes,
That was Randy
actually,
Savage and the Genius are the Poffos, right?
yes, Angelo Savoldi was actually Randy Savage's godfather, which is a fun little factoid. His middle name is Mario, which is Angelo's shoot first name, and also Mario's name. But anyway, so ICW, that was a territory started by Mario and Angelo Savoldi, depending how you judge it between 82 and 85.
Okay.
And later in 91, that merged with the Von Erichs World Class WCCW to become IWCCW.
Texas, right?
Yeah, it was actually the show you and I seen at Bay Pass, if you remember. That was IWCCW.
Our local tech high school that we went to. So that would have
Oh,
been
I'm sorry. Yes.
1988, I believe. It was 88 or 89.
No, it was later than that. It was when someone out there could check this. It's the day the Undertakers with an S won the tag titles.
Because I
If you pull it up, it
remember
says Charlton, Massachusetts, but
I remember getting like a WWF magazine. They were like selling WWF magazines there. It was the one with the King Hacksaw Jim Duggan on the cover.
yeah, the one was doing his classic tough guy pose.
Yeah.
There.
So,
Thumbs up, 2x4.
So yeah. So so they were touring then. So they were because here's the thing that I guess I don't understand about wrestling territories when you talk about that days is like that's a Texas territory, but they performed in Bay Path Regional Vocational Technical High School in Charlton, Massachusetts, which is not Texas.
No, by that point, World Kevin had lost TV in Dallas, is my recollection.
He was dancing with the train.
I don't know, but
I thought we were doing Pepper by the.
Oh, I got it. All right. No, so he had by that point most of the territories were gone. I mean, Memphis was still running, but they're still running in some capacity. Yeah, so he had merged up with Mario's territory, which was primarily the Northeast United States. I mean, he did have run Phoenix often, made as far as Venezuela and the Philippines and stuff. But by the time, ICW's rise coincided with McMahon's national takeover. So as the regional territories were following, Mario was there to sneak in and pick up what he could.
Okay, so he was just picking up like the broken glass basically after the
he had partnered up with a lot of the territories. So we had a lot of I say we, but like Eddie Graham's Florida talent, Georgia, Jim Crockett, and we have tapes from all these territories, which is fantastic.
I want to ask about these tapes too, because like I piece together what you tell me. A lot of the things you tell me about, and you'll say really excited. It would be like me being really excited about like some Star Wars card thing where you're like, okay, well, I remember that from when we were younger, but that doesn't really hold that much weight to me anymore.
Right.
So like I do have questions about these things. Like if you, for example, are going through these tapes, like who would be the like more famous people that made it big in the long run that you're seeing in these tapes? Like who would you say are like the top talents that you've seen in your smaller,
we got literally everybody: Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, Mark Calloway before he was the Undertaker, Mick Foley. I mean, Steve Austin.
So they're all in there.
Yeah, I can't think of a name we don't have,
Like The
to be
Rock, yeah.
honest. Yes, we actually do have some of The Rock when he was wrestling as Fox Cavana,
Are
very much
you
in his younger
allowed
years.
are you allowed to use their can you say Hulk Hogan when you put them up, or do you have to use like Terry Bollea or whatever?
It would depend on the Hulk Hogan one because I believe that's kind of a specific case, and I would have to run this by someone. But
Because
to the
what's the
best of my
legality?
record,
Because doesn't WWF own those names?
yeah, and you can in a lot of cases, yeah, and you can definitely get in trouble for that. But Hulk Hogan, I believe, like in some of the tapes we have of Hulk Hogan, he's wrestling as Hulk Hogan, and we had paperwork saying we can bill him as Hulk Hogan. But I believe some of the stuff we have with him as Sterling Golden, we may have to do the little dance.
Yeah.
Is you can, the legal way to do it is, who later found great fame as Hulk Hogan. It has to be newsworthy, I believe, is the
Yeah,
condition.
that's one of the things I found out about Hulk or about wrestling in general is that if you were in like the WWE, for example, Vince McMahon owned your character.
In most cases, yeah.
Which we famously you would, I think the biggest version of that showing up was when the first time we saw it be real was the fake Diesel and fake Razor Ramon, where it was like they were telling you that they own the characters outright
Right.
instead of just seeing it like, oh, this person changed their name because of that, or like it was never explained that that's why. And I think that was the first time where, because fake Diesel was Kane, right?
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah. And Rick Bogner was the fake Razor Ramon.
yeah, and fake Razor
Uh,
Ramon, he basically tanked his career by being that character, right?
I think so. If I remember correctly, I think he did some stuff in Japan. I know he passed away a little while ago. I don't recall how,
He
unfortunately.
died the same day Scott Hall.
Oy, all right.
Are we not allowed to?
No, it's fine.
I mean, it's like wrestlers die at an alarming rate.
Right, and it's very
I'm
unfortunate.
yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, Luke Williams, big part of the early days of ICW, passed away. No, Butch Miller. Did I say Luke Williams? I hope not. Anyway,
Is he dead?
no, Butch is
Good.
still alive.
Excellent. Because I
Oh,
know.
a quick shout out there. I don't have a link, but there is a GoFundMe for Butch. If Butch is the one who passed away, I'm very sorry.
Yeah.
There is a GoFundMe for his funeral expenses and so on. So if you want to look that up or check our Facebook, I believe we have it up on there.
So you have it up on so I believe, is it medical funeral expenses for Bushwhacker Butch Miller? You can
Yes.
check that out at gofundme.com/F/medical-for-Bushwhacker-Butch-Miller.
That would be the one. Thank you.
So you can check that out. They're trying to raise $50,000 to take care of his expenses. Top donation, Chris Jericho.
He's a class act in that regard. I've seen him do a lot of that when fellow wrestlers have had GoFundMe's for this or that.
Chris Jericho donated $5,000 as me sort of checking that out. So good for him. But we see a lot of people making those donations, and that's very nice. So you can do that. You can help.
To be clear, we're not doing anything with that. I'm just shouting that out.
No. It's like it's one of the funny things that I've noticed about you prepping for this show is how official you want to be as an ambassador of your program and of everything that you're doing. And in my head, I'm just sitting there just being like, it's just my podcast, right? Like it's just you and me talking. And you're just like, I need you to understand that we are not affiliated in any way. Nobody's gonna think that. Don't worry.
It's just,
And honestly, even if you said you did, nobody would notice.
Fair enough. I doubt anyone's going to listen to this.
Yeah, nobody has ever listened to this show. It's
right. On our side, I could probably Zach Carey and maybe Brett Williams will be listening to this. Hey guys.
Hey, shout out.
Other than that, I can't imagine any wrestling fans are watching this for my appearance. So I'm sorry to drag down your ratings here, but
no, you're not. But no, because people like to hear about people that they don't know about as much as they like to hear about that. Like that's the thing where, there's a difference between like, you see these like celeb chasing interview shows. And like, I get it. Like famous people can get eyes on you, but a lot of times it's just like the same questions. And it's the same.
Are you guys friends in real life?
Huh? Well, yeah. Or like, wow, what's it like being that character? Which like, of course you want to ask that question, but like, I wonder how tired these people are of answering that same question. Like I've done press junkets where you ask a question and then there's just like, man, I've heard this question so many times today. And I'm like, probably, yeah, I'm sorry, man. I just got to do my job. I would rather ask you.
They hand me the cards.
Yeah. I'm like, I'd rather ask you different and much better questions. Interviewing the Muppet. That was the weirdest one for me. That one was really fun.
That kid from school?
No, an actual Muppet. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Not that kid he called the Muppet.
I hope he's okay.
I do too. I think back about a lot of my behaviors when I was younger and didn't understand the collateral damage of jokes at other people's expense.
Yeah, especially because like we weren't really cool enough to be bullying anyone. Like
No.
looking back, like I don't.
No, but we were.
Why did they put up with that?
We were funnier than all of the other bullies.
Yeah, we were good.
Yeah, we were intellectual. We were.
Yeah, we had good material, I guess.
Yeah, but certainly nowhere on the hierarchy of, we were real Dane Malenko. We were real strategists, but we were never reaching high levels on the hierarchy of existence there.
A man of 1,004 insults.
Armbar.
Canadian. I don't remember them all.
No, that was good. Shout out
Tim
to
probably
Jericho for doing
them off.
A legendary bit, and then also for donating $5,000 to Bushwhacker Butch's medical and funeral expenses,
and for giving people work.
Oh yeah,
I personally don't like watching AEW. Not my thing. No heat on anyone who does, but I'm glad people have a place to go.
One of the interesting things about Chris Jericho that he did that's really the antithesis of what wrestlers that came before him did is he knew, and he does continuously reboot his character. And that's something that usually when you look at wrestlers like Ric Flair, the Macho Man, Hulk Hogan, like when you look at like the main names that you think of, how many of them have rebooted the character? I mean, maybe The Undertaker.
I know there was that. I don't know if you were still watching at that point, but Savage, when he was after I can't remember what injury he had, his knees or something, but he got, let's say, very inflated.
Big, strong.
Yeah, very strong somehow all of a sudden at that age. And
yeah, well, I remember, that was like the end of the NWO era, right? Where he was like, just like
even after that, but he had like when his hair was slicked back, when he was Gorgeous George, he had a bit of a pimp vibe going on.
Yeah.
And of course, Hogan had Hollywood.
The Macho
Hogan.
Man's outfits in the WWE were pretty pimpy.
Yeah.
He's wearing he had like sequined cowboy hats with feathers coming out of the back. Like that's I'm not gonna say that's not pimpy.
The tailor or seamstress, I'm not sure the term, that made those actually was the one who made all those classic pimp outfits that you'd see like Don Magic Juan and those guys wearing. So it's almost intentional that he looked like a pimp.
But yeah, like I guess Jericho has been quoted as being like, gimmicks can get stale, but if you can reboot and stick with something that works for a little bit, and then when you see it start to get annoying, you can just go back. Like he really did do a lot of really smart stuff with that. Just don't ask his wife where she was on January 6th.
Yeah.
Hey, so not gonna be this world isn't gonna be filled with good people all over the place.
Right. Yeah.
It just happens.
I mean, classic Jericho WCW Monday Nitro is the best.
Yeah, it was really great stuff with like the Lion Tamer and everything.
Yeah, and he was just so good. And I think a lot of that was Eric Bischoff wasn't paying attention to him too much. So it's like, here, just go kill 10 minutes on TV, you know? So he had just classic comedy.
I do like that classic comedy. It's funny. I was actually just talking about how the first and one of the only movies I've ever walked out on was Dracula Dead and Loving It.
That was the first time I ever felt ripped off by something.
Yeah. Because we were talking about Mel Brooks movies. I was talking with a bunch of guys about Mel Brooks movies and about how they're not like, everyone thinks that every Mel Brooks movie was a home run. And I was like, oh no, he's got a lot of really terrible movies.
Yeah.
Not including, by the way, or not excluding Spaceballs, which I think is bad. I do not think Spaceballs is a particularly good movie.
Yeah, you could watch a 10-minute version of Spaceballs and enjoy the heck out of it, but
Yeah,
yeah,
it's not that good. And then Dracula Dead and Loving It was they put him with Leslie Nielsen,
right. Who
and it was
again could,
terrible.
yeah. But I remember that vividly because the commercials made it look. How old were we when we went and saw that?
He's
Like,
Dracula. So I'm gonna get like we were in our, I'd say early teens. I think we were about 14. You were probably 13. I was about 14. It was 1995. I'm gonna guess it was not, we have later birthdays in the year. So the odds are we were 13 and 14.
yeah, because I remember the commercials made it look hilarious.
Yeah.
And then us going to see it, and it just wasn't funny. And that had never happened to me before. Like every movie we had gone to see was like at least decent at that point.
Yeah, that was the first time where I acknowledged movies were bad. That movies could be bad. And
Yeah,
it's
like
funny because I never liked Goonies when I saw it as a kid, but
no, me either.
I didn't classify it as a bad movie. I was just like, I don't like it.
Right.
Dracula
Like I knew
didn't.
like my mom would watch movies I didn't care for, but it was just like, okay, that's not my style. Where
Yeah.
Dracula Dead and Loving It should have been. Like that's up my alley. I love horror and I love comedy. Why don't I like this?
It was everything we were supposed to see, and it was
Yes,
just so bad. It was like offensively bad,
it was terrible.
and it was like you're like it's Leslie Nielsen, and I think what Peter McNichol played like the Renfield character, and it was just so bad.
Yeah,
I don't
not a
know. We
fan of
saw
it.
a lot of movies. Did you see, was it you that came and saw Tank Girl with me
Yes.
on opening day that we convinced my dad to drive us out to see Tank Girl at the
Yeah. Didn't we make him
like
drive to like West Boylston or something
that
too?
was
But that
Worcester Showcase downtown, which
seemed farther
In
away.
Worcester, Massachusetts. It was Showcase downtown, which tended to be our go-to theater.
It's now the Hanover, I believe, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's and that theater, because it was the closest of the like bigger theaters. So it was like you crested into
Right.
Worcester, and
Yeah.
then
Once they shut down Southbridge Twin.
yeah, it's out like so we because I remember like we would go and like we did, it was not a good era for movies for us
No,
about
no,
like
yeah.
what we were paying to go see. And then
No, we were wicked marks for commercials. Just this is
it was,
these funny scenes make me want to see this.
I think Wizard Magazine also did a very good job of telling us what movies we should like. They're like, hey, you read our magazine, so this is the movie you should probably see, right?
Right. Pay no mention to the full page ad three
Yeah.
pages after that cost tens of thousands of dollars. This is a
It,
genuinely good movie.
it never occurred to me, 100% honesty, it had never occurred to me that there was like a pay to play thing as a kid.
Yeah,
Like, and then when you think about it, you're like, you mother,
right.
you're like, how could you do this to me?
I trusted you.
I trusted you, weird guy from upstate New York who's ripping people off and trying to get
Right.
us to buy a bunch of trading cards. Oh man. Hey Dan, I don't know if you know this, but I have a Patreon. Some people are listening to this at patreon.com/Jeff May. Some people are listening to this for free. If they're listening for free, I appreciate the shit out of you. Thank you so much for listening for free. If you're listening on my Patreon, I appreciate you way more. So much more.
They're better
I would say they're better people. They're kinder.
in general.
Yes. But
Summer.
if you go to the Jeff Has Cool Friends at patreon.com/Jeff May and you look, there is a section where you can be a producer. And for a very small amount, all things considered, I will say your name. Now we have a shortened list because I have changed the tiers. I updated again. This is Jeff Has Cool Friends 2.0 on the Patreon 2.0. So it's gotten a little bit sleeker. So we are going to give a shout out to the following people. And if you want to be one of these people that gets a shout out on every episode of Jeff Has Cool Friends, head on over to patreon.com/Jeff May and you can say, thanks to these producers. Shout out to the wandering unpierced left nipple. That's the first one. That's the first one. Somebody paid American money for me to say that, and I love it. Eat and die, Grand Canyon. Do you ever make it to the Grand Canyon yet?
No.
Me,
No.
What's the farthest you've ever traveled?
Farthest west would be Detroit. Farthest south would be DC. I know how to pick them.
Yeah, that's crime cities. That's the cities that white Republicans say are terrible and filled with crime.
Well,
I mean, yeah, every
That they are.
I'm not gonna do that. Shout out to the Foo Fighters pinball game rips, and you plebes will just have to wait to play it. It does. I actually played it. I played it on Thursday as a
Is
recording.
it like an analog table or is it like a digital
It is.
download
It's
thing?
an analog table. The way they did it is they made it like a Scooby-Doo mystery with the band.
Hmm.
So sort of like what Korn did in that South Park thing, but with the Foo Fighters.
Okay.
So you got that. But it is good. It's a great game, although I did not do well on it.
I like the idea of pinball like more than I am good at pinball. If that makes like I get excited to see a table and then I'll drop like $4 in it and I've like played 4 times and it's like all right.
I love it.
I
Like
like the thought of it.
Joining the league was pretty rad. I really enjoy that. And I've made some cool friends there too, which is great. Shout out to the ghost of Dave Thomas. Shout out to
Nice.
I haven't had carbs or sugar in a couple weeks. I fantasize about deli sandwiches now. Dude, I have been there. And yeah, it's not great. But, you know, hey, if you're feeling better about it, go for it. Also, allow yourself a sandwich every once in a while.
Please.
This episode also brought to you by that scene in Meet Joe Black where Brad Pitt, also a very good gif on the social medias. Hi, your friendly neighborhood mortician here to encourage you to complete an advanced directive. It's easy. Just Google it and then tell people and put it somewhere highly accessible. Shout out to The Undertaker for that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Shout out to Mr. Billy Beck. The To-Be Terror Bunny thinks you should watch more Rutger Hauer films. I guess. See a lot of Rutger Hauer films. Batman Begins. That's a Rutger Hauer film, technically.
Joe Don Baker movies.
You guys watch Joe Don Baker movies?
Baker movies.
Shout out to Lef, Bart Fardigan, Dan Adamski, world's humblest man, Norm from Cheers, and Zach Johnston. If you guys want to head on over to patreon.com/JeffMay, I do have a couple of slots open there. You might not be aware of this if you are listening for free, but I also made a shift in tiers where we have a tier called You Get the Jeff May Rookie Card, in which we're going to be doing pack breaks. We're going to be opening up sports cards, non-sports cards, etc. And then you will get in the mail from me. I will mail you a care package every month.
I just got a care package from you and it was fantastic. So if that's any indication, I will vouch for this care package.
Was, to be fair, that was your Christmas present that I forgot to mail out to you as well. But I did one of the things I did send you was from a rip. I ripped a box of 89 Donruss with Adam Todd Brown and pulled a sweet Dennis Lamp.
The best there was. Greatest of all time.
The GOAT. Cy Young Award watcher Dennis Lamp.
Award a wearer of
award polisher.
I need to shout out some producers too while we're on this. One Andre Young, Timbaland, Rhythm D, DJ Unique. I think that'll cover it. Who else? Daz Dillinger.
Oh, of course, Daz. Yeah. And honestly, Danger Mouse deserves a shout out, even though he's not of the same era.
Yeah, with Deltron 3030, I can't remember. I think he's somehow affiliated with that. But anyway, that joke didn't land how I hoped it would, but it is what it is.
You know what? It works for me, so we have that going for us.
I'm here for you. I'm here for Sleazy E.
I'm here for Sleazy E. Do you remember when we had we tried to set up a baseball card shop?
Yes, I do.
We tried to have a yard sale with a baseball card shop. It didn't go great. But
no one came. And no one wanted my $7 Ryan Sandberg. Which I remember wound up as the Beckett Fun Card Ryan Sandbox, if I remember correctly.
Do you remember Beckett? So for those of you that don't, Beckett magazine was like the card collecting magazine. There was Beckett football, Beckett baseball, whatever. And they would do fun cards where you would make a silly little, Chet Lemon's head is a lemon. Get it?
Jim Presley is Elvis Presley with a regular, I believe.
Yep. But then Dan and I thought we were what, 9 and 10 years old. And we would send in just like the most offensive. Like we did. I remember the one we sent in that I swear to God, we sent in Otis Nixon.
Yep.
Who had just been arrested for cocaine use. And we sent in a card of him, an upper deck card, I believe, of him snorting.
He was running the bases and leaning down.
Yeah. And then the line, we just whited out to go right up his nose.
So
and they
snorting the
didn't.
baseline.
Yeah, they didn't publish it. They
I
didn't.
wonder why. Like,
It was so strong.
right.
It was such
Especially with the handwritten letter from 9-year-olds.
saying, "We just did this.
Yeah, can't wait to see it.
I can't wait to see what you guys think." And they're just like, "We cannot put this in here.
But
We
I'm
will
taking
get
it home.
We'll get sued." They put it up on their little fun card. Do you think Wet Beckett had like a fun card, like like a dark, like fun cards after dark that they had that they wouldn't show in
Yeah, I'm sure there was
publication,
a
but they
bulletin
kept.
board where we're like, all right, this is can't print it, but it's also brilliant.
Yeah, we're gonna keep a lot of these things here. We're gonna have those go on. Probably got really interesting in the steroid era.
Oh yeah.
In the 85 McGuire holding up there with just needles sticking out of his arm. Have you seen the baseball card vandals social media accounts?
I haven't.
I have people that send me those all the time. I know Bob Shaw, he sends me a bunch of times where these guys just totally vandalize junk wax baseball cards and sports cards in general.
Like,
I remember you had a Wade Boggs rookie that you sold for way too cheap.
Yeah, but I think I made out on that because what's that worth now? $1.50? Like,
depends on the grade. If it's a high grade, it's actually worth a lot. It's one of the fun things is I've been like, so Adam Todd Brown and I've been, for some reason I fell into card breaking videos, and don't do it, Dan.
I can see that being a money pit.
You specifically don't do card break. Don't watch them because they become addicting, but they also become, you'd be like, I feel like I could do that.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, you're creating tiers on your Patreon so you can reward people. Like, ready, like I got boxes of cards right here that I'm just gonna be like opening and around with, and I'm very excited about it.
It does sound fun,
dude. It's so fun. When was the last time you opened a pack of cards?
Jeez, I was probably with you. I think maybe when we bought those Howard the Duck cards to eat the gum.
That was Gremlins.
Was it? I thought it was Howard the Duck.
I bought Gremlins. I bought a pack of Gremlins cards at the Auburn Flea Market. That was the last time I bought a pack of cards to chew the gum. And it was from what, 1986?
Yeah, I remember it shattered.
It shattered
and then disappeared. Like it never turned into gum.
No, it turned into like this like weird dust that mixed with my saliva to make like a butter.
Yeah.
A sweet butter.
Yeah, it's not as good as you. I mean, I'm sure if they made some now, it would still be delicious, but
yeah,
don't eat 30-year-old gum is the point of this.
Yeah, it's fun. I actually opened up a couple of packs of Star Wars Premiere.
Oh, nice.
I
white border.
No, I don't believe they were actually, because that was some Dre Alvarez for Nerd when we did our Star Wars CCG episode.
Well, he should stick to producing.
And Dre. Yeah, and we pulled you can watch the video if you want, but the rares that I pulled were such a bummer. It was the Tonica sisters and Black.
They weren't bad.
2.
Black 2 is a bust, but Tonica sisters weren't bad if I remember correctly.
No, they were not great.
Really? I remember
you could steal stuff if you had it too. They never worked.
When only like New Hope was out, I mean, there wasn't a deep pool of villains to pick from. I mean,
yeah,
they weren't bad.
Yeah. I still have, I don't know if you can see behind me, but I have like the introductory 2-player set.
Yeah, I just gave one of those to Tim.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Tim had a Vader in it.
And a friend. Well, I never lose my Vader.
Rarely.
Now we're starting to get into inside joke territory, which is very dangerous for me. But I do remember, like, you and I, we would try to find these ways to make money as kids, but we were just so bad at it. It was just one of those things where we just didn't know how to make money.
Right, which is interesting because my dad, at least, was a hustler of the highest degrry.
He's a hustler, baby.
Yeah. At least until the dope got a hold of him. When he was straight-ish, I once literally saw him sell a guy a bucket with a hole in it. Like he was that good. Like when he was on, he was on.
Interestingly enough, as we are talking, I just got a notification from a former guest of the show and cool friend of both of ours, Tim McCouga.
Great guy.
Who said, Have a Nice Life show June 21st in LA. Do you want a guest spot? So I guess I'm performing stand-up at the next Have a Nice Life show in Los Angeles, California.
I think he just maybe meant like a guest pass to get in.
No, because that was already a thing. A guest.
Okay.
When somebody says a guest spot, that means on the stage. It's like a little opening spot.
Well, that's an odd combo, like stand-up comedy and shoegaze. Like,
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, I'm gonna be like, hey, you guys are about to be sad for 2 hours.
right.
It was interesting. I went to
Well, my mother-in-law is coming over for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I should do like really hacky, like Catskills style stand-up comedy when I do that.
Catskills was actually good wrestling area.
Oh, was it?
We have several great events from the world famous Kutcher's Resort, which was what Dirty Dancing was based on.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense, right?
Yeah, so you
So
get
they
some
would-
avid
like
wrestling fans and vacationing Jews, and it's just a lovely mix.
I like the idea of them like doing a wrestling event the same time Dirty Dancing was happening. So like they're doing the dance over in one space, and then like right next to it, it's like Hacksaw Jim Duggan beating some dude down.
Nobody puts Surfer Ray Odyssey in the corner.
I was watching, I forget what documentary it was. It might have been Dark Side of the Ring, but it might not have been. But they were talking about how apparently like Jim Duggan was one of the scariest men in real life because he was just like just naturally just crazy powerful.
Yeah, I can't remember what happened when I heard the tale, but he was blinded somehow. I don't know if he got poked in the eye or whatever. And he was just stomping around the bar like Frankenstein, trying to grab a hold of people. And when he finally got hands on the guy, like,
Yeah.
beat him to a pulp. But
Yeah. So it's really funny when you look at guys that size, like that are that naturally powerful. I mean, he played in the NFL, so it would make sense. But it's crazy to me that he was this big, massive powerhouse, and their big push was that he was like really dumb.
yeah, I mean, that was Vince McMahon's take on the character anyway. I mean, if you watch his older stuff from Bill Watts' territory, he was just exactly what you'd want out of a Jim Duggan, just what a football player that turned into a wrestler would be.
Yeah. When you go through these videos, so like looking back now at what you're doing here, are there what are the things that your average wrestling fan would never know, or things that would surprise a person who's not like a big reference thing?
In terms of like events or just
Like a surprise, like something where you're like, oh, I wouldn't picture this person on there, or oh, did you know that? Like I know that a good example of that is like when you'd see videos of Hulk Hogan wrestling in Japan, and he was being like an incredibly technical wrestler,
right.
whereas Vince McMahon didn't want that from him.
Yeah, fair enough. Off the top of my head, I mean, it still hasn't gotten corrected. If you pull up Wikipedia right now, the IWCCW page, it makes this big to do. It's like, oh, ICW, would promote things that never happened. The best example is the Rick Rude versus Honky Tonk Man match that, they plugged for weeks and it never happened. And it's like, I just watched that 10 minutes ago. Like I was playing with that. Like it happened. Like, why do we believe this?
Why do we say that this never happened?
Right.
Do you find yourself like after going through this, just your love of wrestling after doing this project and doing what you do, is that sort of being dulled because of how it's like work now, and you're like, can't handle another damn wrestling thing? Like,
no, not at all. I mean, I definitely have my favorites.
What are your favorites?
I mean, ICW, IWCCW is my favorite to watch. Got some great stuff from Puerto Rico, which is always a blast. Global Federation had some crazy stuff. A bungee cord match. It was like on a crane, 150 feet above the ring, or so they said, which is just top level. Yeah, I believe if it's not live yet, it will be on Ultimate Classic Wrestling. I made a compilation called Wireless Stipulations, and I put it on there just because it was.
I would love that.
Bonkers.
Like that's so there are shows. So it's not just like dates. It's not just like, oh, this one is the November 1st, 1988 show that was live at Henderson High in Poughkeepsie, New York. What you're saying is that you actually like collate other matches into like compilations.
Yeah, we have both. If you just want to watch, this week's episode of whatever from, 1989, you have that option. But I also Mario had made a bunch during like the DVD era when,
Yeah.
so we have a bunch of those, and I still put them together just because not everyone wants to watch 20 weeks of wrestling in a row. But here's the best of the Freebirds or whatever if you want to kill an hour.
Well, you see, you just what you said is like, yeah, we have this compilation that's like the best, like the weirdest stipulations. Like that's the kind of that I really would watch.
Yeah, and I'm
That's the
like,
stuff where that
again,
I
I put it together, and I mean, it was something I thought I would like to see. I'm here as I was a fan before I got this job. Like I said, I started working with Mario because I liked ICW and not the other way around.
what
So
other
I try
compilations
and
would
pick.
you?
Oh, there's tons of them. I made a couple called Violent Extremists, which is all talent that made their name in ECW.
Oh, that's
I'm
cool.
working on a Jim Cornette one right now.
I wonder because like now I want to start in my head like that seems like something that you would do where you would just sit back with like a buddy and just be like, it would be crazy is if there was like a bloodiest matches or like
Oh yeah, we got all that. Yeah,
or
I
if
I, I
there
usually
was
put. Oh, go on.
like country versus country matches.
Yeah, there was another one I was working on. Sheik's Gone Wild. It was all like Sheik characters. So, Ed Farhat, the Iron Sheik, and
Did they get
Sheik.
your do they get your sense of humor? Or do
I
they
don't think I've made anything too, I don't know,
too above
creative,
them
we'll
or
say. Yeah.
like because I wonder about that. Like if you sneak, I remember you sent me like a fake promo VO that you were talking about, if I recall.
Oh, yes, that is actually slated for release. Jerry Does Dallas, the best of Jerry Lawler in the USWA.
Okay,
That went, it very much looks like an 80s porno movie, start to, well, not start to finish, is things you don't see, but the vibe of it is if went to Steve's Video in '88 and picked your favorite VHS off the wall.
Yeah.
That's the graphical feel I went with.
Okay, all right. Because I was wondering about that. Because when you sent me the VO for it, I laughed so hard, and you were like, "But you can't share that because I don't even know if it's going to happen."
Yeah, no, it happened. It actually almost got on pay-per-view, but
really,
yeah, we swapped it out for a different title. Just
wait. So you guys have a pay-per-view?
we provide a. I don't know how to word this because it's not my call to make.
Okay.
Some of our content winds up on pay-per-view. I guess is the safest way to say it.
Yeah,
Above my pay grade on that one. So
now
the stuff winds up there.
Something that I think was really interesting about your network that you're on, right? As I was going through Ultimate Classic Wrestling, I noticed that you also have tiers. So you have like a free thing that has like general collection of matches, and then you also have like a subscription service as well.
That's correct.
Sort of like, I guess the closest thing to be like that would be like a Hulu kind of a thing where they have a free version of it with ads. But the reality is if you want everything, it's going to cost you a small amount a month, a couple bucks a month.
Yeah, it's $6.99 a month if you want access to everything, and that plays without ads. There is a good selection of stuff that's free to watch with ads, usually compilation type stuff. I do believe some of the weekly, you'll get a run of like IWA Puerto Rico's or something you can watch for free as well. But the content changes up every week. Like, well, I should say more stuff gets added every week. So if you didn't see what you like this week, check next week.
Fair enough. Do you also, hold on, let me just say, do you guys have a social media?
Yeah, absolutely. We have Facebook.com/Savoldi Wrestling and YouTube.com/Savoldi Wrestling. And there's a Twitter I very rarely go on at Savoldi Network. I should say Savoldi, SAVOLDI.
Yeah, because I looked up Ultimate Classic Savoldi Network, you said?
Yes.
Because like if I were, because like, yeah, you guys don't really do much on there. You might want to make an Ultimate Classic Wrestling channel page, right? So you can talk about like updates and things that are on there and stuff like that. I was looking through it because I was like, well, that's such a great name, and you guys have your own channel on on Roku, so it's available on Roku. And what's the other one? Because you said another one and I didn't.
Yeah, it's currently on Roku and Fire TV, and then throughout this year, hopefully before summer, but I don't want to promise anyone, there will be Apple TV versions, Google Play, and a web version as well. So at that point, once the web version's up, we'll probably have a better web presence.
Oh, I just choked on that. So like, Do you know how many people, like, do you see the metrics?
I haven't checked it in a bit. The company that built our network, probably should give them a shout out. Play Now Media. They own like 600 different channels, horror TV, found footage. If you see a channel that says TV at the end, that's probably them. But they
Okay.
also have a channel, Wrestling TV, that we're also on. But yeah, he's always building up the network, adding stuff, things like that. So yeah, that's why we're going to be everywhere later in the year.
Because I was wondering about something like that. Because, like, we find ourselves in I think everybody has a niche. Everybody has something that they do that people are like, yeah, like I'm in a pinball league.
Right.
Whereas you're like, oh, I like the idea of pinball. Like, I'll go to a place, I'll put a couple of bucks in and blah, 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 and flip around, whatever. And then and so like, like when I go, everybody there is just like, this is, oh, pinball, which tables do you own? Stuff like that. When your average person is like, what are you, a psychopath?
Right.
Whereas like something like this, like I don't know the market for this. Like I wouldn't know if you're like, if you told me that you had either 100 or 1 million subscribers, I would totally believe the answer, because I have no metric for understanding like what the market is for this.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose if I was a better businessman, and again, I know Michael at Play Now Media did all of this before launching our channel, but there is similar channels out there. Like you can see what WWE Network's doing. Dave Parsons has a channel, Wrestling Legends Network. He's a great friend of our network as well. So you can see what people are doing and know where you should be. I don't have that answer. I cut tape, but
Yeah, I was just wondering like if you were aware of that, because I'm low key fascinated by this, that you are basically in the process of creating, you've created a channel that's available on Roku. Like about you told me like, yeah, we have a channel, and I was expecting it to be like, yeah, we have our own station on Pluto or something like
right.
that. And instead it's just like, no, yeah, you can literally download our app on with like, by the way, a surprisingly efficient and easy user interface.
Yeah, thank you. Again, that was again Michael at Play Now. If you like horror movies, please look up horror TV or type in the thing you like in TV after it. You'll find a channel that looks just like it, because Michael at Play Now Media did such a great job putting, because he's a sci-fi guy. So his
Okay.
sci-fi TV is like in his eyes, the gold standard of what you would want a streaming channel to look like.
Yeah.
And then just made a template of it from there.
I mean, yeah, once you get it to work, like why mess with it?
Right. So that's why our channel looks like, I mean, I did it, it would look like a GeoCities page, but
Fair enough.
or way too thorough.
Angelfire.cjb.net page.
Right. This is, the extent of my coding abilities. I can cut like a mother.
I mean, yeah,
Oh,
that's yeah. So like how warm is your room after running all these like computers?
I didn't have to. At one point during the hint of winter, my pipes froze everywhere along the south wall of my house, except my office. Just because,
Because
I have
everything's running
I have
so
like 10
warm.
computers and a bunch of decks from 1988 running. It gets toasty in here.
Yeah, I would assume, because like it's like one of those things where you walk into like a server room and they have to blast the AC, or else it's gonna like melt the grid or something like that.
Right.
But again,
Yeah,
like,
that old equipment
are you
it runs
converting
hot.
tape? Are you converting tape right now?
I don't have anything running at the moment. I am rendering, but I
Okay,
don't have anything cut at the moment.
so you had just finished, so you're rendering now. So like you have to.
Yeah.
Can you
I turned off my
render?
deck because I mean a lot of it's and like the tapes are 30 years old. They're not quiet.
Yeah, no, that's fair. What have been the weirdest interactions that you yourself have been involved in? Like, what are the things? When I say weirdest, by the way, I don't mean like, oh, I saw an ostrich in the back of somebody's Zoom call, but like, what are some of the more interesting things that you would have never predicted that you'd be doing?
Historically, I would say back when I worked for Trauma. Hey Lloyd,
Oh, that's right. Shout out to Lloyd Kaufman,
great guy. Reason I am in this business, hands down.
the Carney business, because that also
No.
makes sense.
That too, but no, he's where I learned, I would say, the basics of filmmaking. And later, I picked it up from the legendary Mike Shields, who just recently passed away. But for all intents and purposes, he's the guy that invented wrestling television. I was absolutely blessed to have got to work with him. Anyway, so for when I was with Trauma, we were at a convention, and I got to be in the VIP with, I guess, what they would call VIPs.
The green room. They call it the green. It's the green.
Yeah, but the kid who, what's his name from Child's Play, like not Chucky, but like Barkley.
Yeah.
Yeah, celebrities, quote unquote, to use the
No, I
term
get it.
loosely.
Yeah, like at any con, that's my other job is going to
Right.
cons and working with those people. So yeah, I totally get it. Yeah, the green room where people are resting, they're taking a break.
Yeah, a whole lot of the other guys from things.
You run into like, oh, it's the Zach Galligan from Gremlins is here. How cool is that?
Very nice guy. Yes, I actually met him, and he was a
you
cool
accidentally
guy.
insulted him.
Yes,
and it's one of my favorite stories.
Yes, because Zach Galligan looks great. I mean, I haven't seen him in 10 years, but he looks fantastic. He's definitely not I don't want to throw any names out, but his life didn't train wreck.
No. Yeah, he's active and visible, and
yeah, me trying to be nice, I was like, wow, man, you look great. You look like you could get work. And he just deadpanned me like, I do get work. And I was like, no, I'm sure you do, man. I didn't mean it like that. Like,
yeah, you're like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, I realized we actually follow each other on Twitter.
He's a nice fellow.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy. Anyway, so you were in the green room.
Yeah, I was with John Kassir, a voice of the Crypt Keeper.
Oh,
I believe he played
Boys and Ghouls.
Yes, Ghoul.
Buster Bunny as well.
Is he really?
Yeah, I believe he was Buster Bunny.
Yeah, I know.
Actually, if you hear it, you're like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. He was also Shemp in the TV movie that Mel Gibson had made of the Three Stooges.
Yeah,
but yeah, so I was
weirdly not positive. Those Jewish actors, those Jewish characters, are really treated negatively by him.
Yes, but yeah, so I was hanging out with him for some reason, and Margot Kidder. Is it Margot?
Yeah,
I don't know. Anyway, I wasn't happy with her to begin with because I tried to get a pic to send someone, and she was trying to charge me. I'm like, no, we're backstage. Those rules don't count. But anyway, so she brought Sear a piece of cake, which was, a kind gesture.
Yeah.
And as she walks away, I say to Kassir, I'm like, you're really going to eat a piece of cake from Margaret Kidder?
Mm-hmm.
Just because,
yeah.
And he goes,
yeah, she was not doing well.
She probably was at this point, but yeah.
Because she passed, unfortunately, in May of, I believe, 2018.
Yeah, I recall that. Yeah, but Kassir, on that, you're really going to eat a piece of cake from Margaret Kidder. He throws it in the trash, which, I mean, I can't imagine he was trying to like sell me on that bit, especially at the detriment of not eating cake,
Yeah. That would have been interesting if he was just like, because she's not going to like poison him.
Right. Like, did they have heat I wasn't aware of? Maybe she was. I don't know.
Yeah, John Kasser. Yeah, he's been busy. I went on his IMDb when you brought him up just to look, and like I can't even go back far enough at how busy this dude has been.
I'm sure he does a lot of voiceover work.
Yeah, he was Buster Bunny. He was also in Duckman.
He's got a cool gimmick, or at least he did at the time. You could have him do your voicemail message, and like whatever voice he could do. You could have the Crypt Keeper leaving your. We called me back later. Whatever.
Yeah. You've reached death May. And you're like, all right, well,
yeah. I was gonna call like 911 and be like, yeah, this is my friend. Like, say you're killing people or something.
I'm out murdering people with an axe. This local voice actor John Kasser was shot dead by police deputies this weekend after threats of violence.
Like when you accidentally pick up your bank withdrawal slip and someone wrote, "I have a gun" on the back of it.
Yeah, that's certainly not something that you did one time.
Never happened.
That might be one of the funniest things you've ever done. Side note,
allegedly.
We were at the Solomon Pond Mall in Berlin, Massachusetts, and they had a Bank of America in there, and you just walked up to withdrawal slips and just wrote, "I have a gun" on the back and just put it like 4 down. But like someone was going to eventually just slide that thing over.
I mean, I'm hopeful the person that, like, especially 2023 me, I'm hopeful the guy saw that before he handed it to the teller. But I don't recall anything on the news about an attempted robbery or anything. So I hope I didn't get anyone arrested.
Side note, and I didn't know this, the Crypt Keeper was in Casper.
That's the Crypt Keeper. Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know they expanded universe thing going on there.
Yeah, Casper. Well, Casper the Ghostbusters had Casper in canon.
So did Richie Rich.
Yeah. I remember when mustachioed Dan Aykroyd ran out.
Is that
What do
what
you
that
recall?
scene when he's on the bed and his belt gets undone?
It's that scene.
Is that Casper?
Casper's the one that did. Casper just sucking off Dan Aykroyd. Like Casper does.
Yeah.
Very friendly ghost.
That's how we got the name.
Some would say the friendliest ghost.
Very much.
Side note, John Kassler was in 2 episodes of In Living Color.
Really?
Yeah. Was
Doing
not
what?
expecting that.
No.
As I'm going through and looking through all the stuff, and it's like, oh yeah, he was on an episode of Moonlighting and The Facts of Life and In Living Color. What the hell?
I don't recall a second white guy ever until Jay Leggett joined the cast, who was phenomenal.
Jay Leggett, so good. There's also a music video called The Crypt Keeper Crypt Jam. And it's described as a music video with the Crypt Keeper on keyboard and singing.
I bet I know someone with that album.
I bet. Isn't it wild the amount of Crypt Keeper stuff? Like, what a celebrity the Crypt Keeper was.
I had when I was in high school, like 9th, 10th grade. I had a big chunk of his hair because I was at, I want to say maybe it was Spooky World.
Hell yeah, Spooky World.
But it may have been one of the predecessors to Rock and Shock. But they had the Crypt Keeper mannequin puppet set up. And when no one was looking, I yanked a handful of his hair out just to have as like a souvenir,
You're a real piece of shit.
I mean, it probably wasn't the show puppet if they sent it out on.
Yeah. Fair enough.
But that said, if you're ever at a trauma event, the Toxie mask that we all had to sweat under is the Toxic Avenger stunt mask. So you never know.
That is true. Yeah. Did I tell you that my neighbor was the Spooky World guy? I've told you that, right?
I remember you saying something when you brought him on this show.
Yeah, he was on this show.
Yes.
But like he's the creator of Spooky World, and he lives right near me in Burbank. Like, it's so weird.
Well, it is America's horror theme park.
I mean, I sang the song at him when he told me. And I was like, don't you understand? Like, this was everything to me.
Yeah, no, I remember making my mom drive me out there to meet Kane Hodder.
Yeah, having him choke you out.
Yep. He still does that gimmick. If you meet him now, he'll choke you, you know?
It's funny because everybody else is smart enough not to do that. I wonder if he has like waivers.
I don't know.
Like, if I was him, I'd have like a waiver there.
Yeah, or at least ask. And to be fair, he grabs you pretty tight. Like, he's not just resting his hand on your throat. He gets a hold of you. I mean, you can breathe and fine, but it's he's there.
He squeezes the button a little bit,
Yeah. He's a big dude. He really is.
You're like, hey man, didn't even ask.
No, he never asks. I mean, I met him probably 4 or 5 times just from things. And
I know he's friends with a friend of mine, Samantha Hale. She does a horror themed comedy show called Horror Nerd, and I think he's been there. He's like been at it as like an event. This town is weird like that.
I can see that.
There's just like horror people just everywhere.
Yeah, no, I remember when you first moved there, you calling me like, it's like I just saw Crease eating a sandwich.
Yeah, it is jarring when you first move out here, when you see people that you like. Oh, there's Mr. T. There's Mr. T. Just Mr. damn T walking around.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. I see him on Ventura Boulevard, man.
Remember when he was dying? What happened with that?
He got better, man.
That happened. That's what happened, I guess. But
he clubbed it. He beat it. Cancer was a paper chant. Beat it.
Yeah, because I remember that. Remember he had like cancer or something. Wasn't that a big to do when we were like 13?
Yeah. He was not doing too great. I looked up Mr. T cancer. Yeah, September of 95 is when they found that. But the thing that came up in the people always ask is Mr. T taking on the toughest enemy of his career? And I'm like, people don't also ask that.
Google. I hope they're asking that.
Google. Nobody's Googling that specific question. I wonder if Mr. T is taking on the toughest enemy of his career right now.
I wonder if that was like one of those like 4chan things when they like swarm a page to get the trending now thing up.
Oh yeah, like voting The Right Stuff by New Kids on the Block #1 on TRL or something.
Yeah. So maybe is Mr. T facing the toughest enemy of his career, like was a hot topic over there.
Mr. T's 70.
Jeez.
Isn't it weird? I
pity him.
I don't. I think he's doing great. Do you think about death? No. Could you imagine if that was
I'll tell you one thing.
But...
Yes. I recently ran into, not recently, but I saw Larry Zabisco not too long ago, the living legend.
Yes, Olivia.
And
He's a big. I mean, most well known for being one of the WCW Nitro commentators.
yeah, and of course, former AWA world
Of course.
champion, big feud with Bruno Sammartino. Anyway, lovely, lovely fellow. But I was expecting to, see AWA world champion Larry Zabisco.
Yeah.
And I saw an old man, which is, as he should look.
Yes.
But that just gave me like a genuine, sense of my own mortality. Like, if Larry Zabisco can get like old and frail, like, what? I'm no Larry Zabisco. I'll die,
Yeah.
like.
I think about that a lot when I'm reading, like if I'm reading like Steinbeck or something like that, or Hemingway or some kind of something from like the 30s or the 40s. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure everyone involved in this book is dead.
Yeah.
And that to me is the thing that I'm just like that like shocks me into my own awareness of my mortality. Because like once that happens, I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna die.
Right.
Like, I know.
Usually
I
you
love
don't care. It seems
what,
so distant, but then when it's, in your lap, it's like, wow.
I mean, we've hit the halfway point.
Yeah. Well,
Realistically.
when I was 18, my doctor told me I was only going to live till 30. So, I mean, I had no plans for this point in my life,
Liar.
Yeah,
Lying
I know,
ass
right?
doctor.
I would have put money in my 401k if I knew this was going to happen.
I know we gotta end the episode, and I know we've got that. Aside from classic wrestling, what other things do you want to make sure that people check out?
Again, Ultimate Classic Wrestling is the primary thing I'm working on. I mean, we are picking up we made some more acquisitions and some distributorship deals. So there's a lot more classic wrestling that, we either own now or that we don't own that we're distributing. My goal is to get everything McMahon doesn't own under one roof. And I'm well on my way to do that, not to toot my own horn, but we just added so much. Mario should be announcing that,
So like
in the coming weeks.
NWA stuff.
Yes, there would be some of that. A lot of territory wrestling.
I wonder who like owns that. Who owns like the NWA stuff? Because I know doesn't like Billy Corgan own the NWA now?
He owns the brand, and in terms of footage, I don't know if he owns it outright, but at least has distribution rights to Paul Bosch's Houston library. And I heard
From the TV show Bosch, yeah.
Yeah, of course. And I believe he just picked up Dick the Bruiser's WWA somehow.
The Bruiser.
McMahon owns a good.
Can we just talk about how great the name Dick the Bruiser is?
A legend.
Legendary indeed.
Yeah. Yeah, him and the Crusher, the wrestler who made Milwaukee famous, which I believe is the greatest tagline. Because the whole city is famous because of this one man's wrestling ability.
This man is Anheuser-Busch, the wrestler.
The only reason the Milwaukee Brewers as a baseball team exist is because Crusher Lazowski
can do a hell of a full Nelson or whatever.
Exactly.
Dumbass.
He made that city famous.
You know who works with Billy Corgan in the NWA now? Our good friend that we wrestled before.
Oh yeah, Aaron.
Aaron, yeah.
Are we allowed to say his name?
I would just call him Aaron Stevenson. What's he go by now?
I think it's Aaron Stevens 1A.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
My favorite gimmick. My favorite thing about him is he's had the same gimmick since we were teenagers. Like he's changed the name, but he's doing the exact same thing he did as kids. So like, good on him.
When we were with the Damian Sandow character, I remember like because he really liked the Genius idea, and thought that it deserved a better pop. So he did that when we were kids.
The Graduate was his name back then.
Yeah, and then when he got in, he didn't have it until he was finally sort of like Vince allowed him to, and he actually got Lanny Poffo's permission to do that bit. Like he like went and asked.
Right, got his blessing.
And then that worked for a while, and then they buried him.
That'll happen.
Yeah.
I don't know the reasoning, but I believe he ended up doing pretty well for himself on an independence, or at least as a free agent.
He's sticking with NWA because I see he still does stuff with NWA, and I saw him on stage with the Pumpkins. He posted a thing on Instagram, so like I feel like he's doing all right if he's like still hanging out in BFFs with Billy Corgan.
Yeah, I mean there's enough money to be made on the indie circuit if you can, especially with a name as his.
Oh yeah, like Colt Cabana, he did great on the indie circuit, right?
Yeah.
because he was really, I think, the first really viral wrestler, right? Like,
to the best of my recollection. I
yeah.
mean, we get some tape of him. He's not quite my style, but I'm happy he does what he does. If that
His
makes
interview
sense.
stuff is the stuff that really made it, right? Like his mic work.
Yeah, I would prefer, like, again, that's the kind of me personally, and not a knock on Colt Cabana. And this is probably just being a child of Joe Pedicino's wrestling block. I would prefer if he did that, the silly gimmick, and then wrestled for, I don't want to say for real, but it looked like a competitive bout when he was in the ring. Like, yeah, I made fun of you, and now I'm going to beat the crap out of you.
Yeah,
that'd be cooler to me, instead of, okay, the silliness continues after the bell. But again, different strokes, different folks.
Oh yeah. I know everyone go, if you have a Roku, which I think most people have a Roku or a Fire TV, Ultimate Classic Wrestling. Look for it on the other apps in the future, on the other systems. It is a really interesting thing. I've looked at it, I've flipped through it. I haven't really had time to watch any of the matches, but it is really cool that you have that stuff in there, because I'm super stoked on it. I'm really glad that you are working in a field that we grew up loving.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all my life I wanted to be a wrestler. It was literally the only plan I had for a job. And then when I got diagnosed with Marfan syndrome, I was like, yeah, you take a bump like that, you'll die. So I was like, all right, so now what am I going to do? So I
It's funny because
didn't.
for those of you that are listening on the Patreon, we have some Patreon exclusive content coming after the finish. And we are actually, Dan and I are going to talk a little bit more about our experiences with wrestling. And it's going to be very funny. That's good stuff on that. I would also like to add, head on over to patreon.com/Jeff May. Oh, wait, real quick. I jumped in front of you. Do you have any other things?
No, other than Ultimate Classic Wrestling, I mean, we got everything on there: ICW, IWCCW, Global Wrestling Federation, USWA, tons of stuff from Puerto Rico, IWA, WWC, lots of Vern Gagne's AWA, Georgia Championship Wrestling,
So a
Florida
lot.
Championship Wrestling, California. Yeah, it's, if Vince doesn't own it, in some cases, we both have non-exclusive rights to things. So you will see some crossover. Nothing of WWE's, of course. Everything's there. Quick shout out, Mario Savoldi, greatest guy I know. My dad's was not a dad per se.
Yeah, well, yeah, your dad had his problems.
Yeah, we'll put it that way. So Mario, I love him dearly. He's like a father to me. I couldn't be happier to be where I am, working with who I am. Again, Mike Shields, he had my job when I started working with Mario. He since passed away, but again, absolute legend of a man. Blessed to have known him, blessed to have learned from him. And this may be my one opportunity to give an interview, because I'm nobody. So I just wanted to,
Yeah, but you're
make
not.
sure they got the nod, because, yeah, again, very important people.
First off, you're not nobody. You're my brother, and
Brother of the stars,
you've
Daniel
been
May.
one of my closest friends for, we would say, all things considered, nearly 4 decades.
I ain't selling out the Meadowlands.
Yeah, but that's fine. I like talking. Not everybody is not everything has to be like some super famous celebrity that you have on the show. Sometimes it's somebody that I find interesting, with an interesting backstory. You've done such cool shit,
That's right. I've fallen ass backwards into great stuff. So
you
again,
have, and
volunteer to work for free. It's the best advice I can give anybody. You want to be somewhere, tell them you'll work for free.
yeah, and spoiler alert, after one hell of a tumultuous life. So,
Yeah.
like, you've been through some shit, both, stuff that is not on you, stuff that is on you, that you've sort of really built yourself up a really great life on that. You've got a brand new wife who is
Yeah.
absolutely lovely. I was glad to be there at the wedding last year.
Yeah, she actually recently was awarded. She has been universally recognized as the hottest woman alive. So that's pretty cool for
The
me to be married.
hardcore champion.
Yeah, undisputed. Literally every person on the planet agrees that she's just the hottest thing there is. So that's pretty cool that she's
I love
my
that. I
wife.
love
Yeah.
that you're such a wife guy. Like,
Yeah.
I really do love that.
Oh, I wait on her hand and foot. She hasn't had to stand up since she moved in.
You're hobbling her like in Misery. You like Hammer?
Yeah, I was just gonna say Misery 2 with Hammer, but yes.
I would like to add, because it did come in after I sort of started recording, but shout out to producer Dre Alvarez. Check out this month's Nerd podcast with Dre and Jeff. It will be magic.
Dre is a producer.
Dre, yeah. Hey, Dre, stick to producing.
How was
They're
that not
calling
in
me
his
up on the
intro?
phone.
You've been a dick.
You don't want to see what Easy did when he Saw my ass. Yeah, if you're listening for free, thank you so much. And we will see you in 2 weeks. If you're a patron, stick around because we got bonus content. If you want to hear more of that bonus content and early access to uncensored episodes with that bonus content of this show, as well as access to Patreon exclusive shows like Ugh Fine, as well as access to shows like Nerd with Dre Alvarez. And I have my new video that I'm going to be doing, I Must Break You, my pack breaking videos that I'm going to be doing.
That's a good title.
Shout out to Dre Alvarez. Again, he's the one that came, he's like, you have to make your show called I Must Break You, right? And I was like, damn it, that's so good. It's like infuriating how good of a title that was, because I really like titles, and the fact that
hot take Rocky IV is best of the franchise.
Yeah, I think that's universally accepted. People pick either Rocky 1 or Rocky 4.
You know what's interesting about Rocky 1? All of the, I don't want to say all of the famous scenes, the outdoor Philadelphia scenes, Rocky running up the stairs, things like that, those iconic ones, filmed by the Trauma team under the direction of Mr. Lloyd Kaufman.
Look at that.
Yeah, just to dodge union rules. But
yeah, I do love that every time something like that comes up, it's like, for crimes.
Right. But no, it's cool.
But yeah, so yeah, again, patreon.com/Jeff May. You can sign up for new tiers, such as you get the Jeff May rookie card tier, where I will literally send you a care package every month, which is actually really fun. I've been like, because I'm collating them and I'm sort of customizing them for everybody. It's like getting Christmas gifts for everybody. Like, I'm like, oh, this person likes the LA Rams. Let me see what I can find that's a good Rams card for them or something.
Now, I may still have your actual rookie card. When we were playing baseball and you could order like man.
I have the photo, but I don't have the cards.
I found some of my cards too, and they're, wearing like camo sweatpants and a rat tail, looking suave.
Yeah. We were not the cool kids. I think we can all agree.
No, never.
We were not that. But yeah, so again, patreon.com/Jeff May. You can also check me out on Tom and Jeff Watch Batman on the Gamefully Unemployed Network. And of course, You Don't Even Like Sports and Unpopular Opinion, both on the Unpops Network, as well as You Don't Even Like Sports Cards, the sports card pack breaking that I'm doing with Adam Todd Brown. I think we're going to be doing that like every second Wednesday or something like that.
So did you create a second pack breaking show just to break more packs? Is that your...
Well, because I'm doing sports cards with Adam, because I do the sports podcast with him. So we break sports cards, and then I'm going to do non-sports cards. So,
I see.
So you can't really see above me, but like there's like DC Cosmic cards right here. There's a box of those from when we were kids. There's some Garbage Pail Kids boxes right here. Box of Shadowhawk cards from the 90s.
Nice.
Like those really like weird.
Are those not worth money? Those figures are worth a fortune.
What?
Oh wait, I'm thinking of Silverhawks. My apologies.
Yeah. So yeah, Shadowhawk's not good.
No, I believe that Z got a nice batch of Volume 2 wrap card. What were they called?
Wrap packs or
something like that.
Who knows?
I think there were Yo MTV Wraps cards. I believe that's how they were branded.
Fair enough. You can follow me on social media at Hey There Jeffro, and Dan, the social media for Ultimate Classic Wrestling was Savaldi.
Yeah, Facebook.com/Savaldi Wrestling, YouTube.com/Savaldi Wrestling. Like and subscribe. Yes.
Check that out. And yeah.
Twitter at Savaldi Network.
We gotta get you guys. You guys are perfect for Instagram Reels, by the way.
Probably
your thing is perfect for Instagram Reels.
I have
this income, by the way.
Yeah, well, I have this hard. I'm trying to get our YouTube monetized, but I'm at like 800 something subs. I think you need 1,000.
Yeah,
but I have this very hard balance where like I want to give people like the coolest thing I have, like, hey, look at this, but also without giving away the house.
No, you give away the 20-second clip.
But that's no fun. You don't want to watch 20 seconds of a match. So everything I have on YouTube is full matches, and they're good ones. But not Rick Rude versus Honky Tonk Man good. I need, you open your wallet for that.
Yeah. 99 for that one.
Right.
But anyway, so yeah, stick around. For those of you that are patrons, stick around. We'll see you in a little bit. And Dan, say goodbye.
Hey, have a good one, y'all.
Hey, everyone. Our artwork is created by Justin T. Brown, who can be found at Artness by Justin Brown on Instagram, as well as artnessbyjustinbrown.com. That dope music you heard is by Troy Nababon, available at Troy Nababon on Instagram, as well as at troynababon.com. Nababon is spelled Nababan, and boy, does that shred. Thank you all so much for listening. See you next time.